At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another session of Focus on Liberia on the Marketplace, where we talk everything business, finance, and economics. I am your co-host, Gabriel Carter. Today, I have in the studio with me my co-host, Jimmy Eastman. And we have a special guest with us today. Dr. Moluba has been with us for, I think we've had him on several shows, but today he's going to be joining us to talk about the economics of the mining sector, the mining and iron ore sector in Liberia. So wherever you are, again, as we said, just share, come in with your comments, opinions, perspectives, and just join the conversation. And as we journey on the next hour and a half to talk about this special topic. Dr. Moluba, again, thank you for joining us. I think, let me give Jimmy the time to introduce you, because you have quite of a very great, resume, and that I think, Jimmy would like to talk to that. And then after that, we'll give you the floor to, add to that. If we leave out, hopefully we don't leave out anything on that. So, yeah. Jimmy.
Okay, Gabriel, thank you. And Dr. Moluba, thank you for joining us. You're right, he has an extensive background. I met the young man in CWA, and he is a product of the College of West Africa. He earned his bachelor's degree in science in mining engineering from the University of Liberia. He worked as a mining engineer for grade control and ore production at the National Iron Ore Company, NIOC. He then worked at the Ministry of Lands and Mines and Energy as the chief mining engineer for the Republic of Liberia and the director of bureaus of mines and concessions and an assistant minister for mines.
Wow.
He then worked as a mining and materials engineer at the Bone Mines Company. Bone Mines is one of the largest iron mineral extracting companies in the country. He was responsible for ore production statistics from the mine all the way to shipment. He worked as a field engineer and administrative manager for the Geological Management Consultancy Company in Ghana. And this company, main exploits were for gold. He earned a master's and a doctorate degree in the computer science, big data in the USA, big data analytics, which is the hottest degrees right now in the USA. He's been working as a data scientist since graduation with an IT company in the USA. Dr. Moba, like I said, we know you have an extensive background, and we're happy that you could join us today and to talk about the mining industry. As you know, the mining is one of our main exports, and I guess if we learn how to be proficient in it and learn more about it, we can yield more. So we're very happy you could join us today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for that elaborate introduction. Thank you. I've been here before, so this is my home now. Thank you.
Yeah. So, folks, we're going to take an overview of the iron ore mining sector in Liberia. Like I just said, mining sector been one of the largest contributors to GDP. All right, and so we're going to allow Dr. Moba to give us an overview of the industry to kind of introduce the whole idea of the industry and how it does affect our economics.
Thank you. And let's start off with what really happens before you start to mine. We have two options. Either you come to a new place that hasn't been worked before, so you get an exploration license, and then you go in. If you determine that the suspected iron ore is economical, that means it can be mined at a profit, then you go into a concession agreement. Another phase is if it already existed and for some reason it stopped operation, like the problem we had in Liberia, the mining company were operational, they were not depleted, but we had a war. Then when you come in, then you have what we call MDA, because you already know that there is an economic mineral deposit, so you do mineral development agreement. So there are two different distinctions there. One is virgin, one is already worked. And Liberia has had the fortune of mining iron ore since the 60s or late 50s. We have 4 mining concessions. The first one was LMC, Liberia Mining Company, what people call Bomiho now, Bomi and Bomiho. We'll get to that if we need to. It was funded by Leinster Christie, and it was a subsidiary of Republican Steel. Now, when you hear that, that means the mine is a captive mine. That means it consumes what it produces. So it doesn't go to a world market and be selling the ore. It takes it straight to the steel plant and produce steel. So that kind of mine lasts for a very long time because they don't have to go and bargain with ore buyers. Then the second one, and this was Leinster Christie, then he moved on to NROC, just not many hours away from LMC, and start to mine the ore over there, and that stopped operation in 1985. And I'm sure you heard about the NRC workers, but we're not going to talk about that today. The third one was Lamco, which was a joint venture, and it also came on stream and did the same thing, mine and process. They had the concentrators and all of those things going before the war. The fourth one was Bond Mining Company, where I worked, and they also mine, they produce concentrates and pellets. So that's the general overview. There are many more things, but that's what we have right now. And currently, there some company working in Bond Mine, Lamco, Aceramita is in Lamco, the Chinese are in Bond Mine, and we have B Mountain. But Liberia was the third iron ore producing company during the tough time when those companies were in operation. And LMC earned $540 million for the 27 years that they operated. And what Liberia got, 84 millions.
Out of 527 million.
540 millions.
Okay.
Over the 27 years, Liberia only got 84 million. Well, I don't know where the others went. So that's just to tell you that we are rich, we have the resources, it's just management. And that's about what I can say but the mining industry, but I can answer questions from there.
Yeah. Typically, with these NDA agreements and whatnot, what is usually the host company? What is usually their portion? Or how is generally is it? Is it a 50-50? Is it 60-40? How generally are these agreements arrived?
Okay. When they come for the negotiation, they come very strong. They have the technocrats. They know everything they want. The Liberian side is where the problem is. You don't have the know-how, the technical people. They're not given chance to go to negotiate. So those who go there, they are weak. And this guy who come to negotiate for you, they know it already. So they take advantage of the lack of knowledge, lack of interest, and craft some of these concession agreement or MDAs that in the end may not be favorable. But once you sign it, you're obligated to live by it.
Yep.
That's the strength of your MDA. The strength of your MDA and the economic gain from your MDA depend on the caliber of people.
Keep freezing.
Yeah.
Are we there?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can hear you.
you're just freezing a little bit. We kind of,
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Dr. Moba.
Yeah, I can repeat whatever we miss.
Yes, you
Yeah, go
said
ahead.
when you come, the benefit of the agreement will depend on the caliber of the individuals. You say,
Yeah.
uh, mhm. So
Yeah.
you can start.
If your negotiation team is not technically inclined, they already know when you start negotiating. So they put things in the agreement that you will sign. And once you sign it, it becomes, and the president approves it and it's ratified, it becomes law. Now you come to your senses, you can't change it until you go back to another negotiation. So from the very beginning is where you lose or gain. In short, if you're not
Right.
if your team not technically inclined, then they're gonna put things in there that are in their favor.
That makes sense.
It becomes legal. It becomes legal. For example, if you didn't tell me to build a blast furnace and the agreement is signed, then you realize that, oh, we can add value to this by building a blast furnace. Then you go by and call and say, I want a blast furnace. It's not in the agreement. Then you have to renegotiate.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So from the negotiation table,
Mm-hmm.
if you stipulate, look, there should be a blast furnace, you are automatically giving a chance to add some value for
Yes.
to produce some products locally.
Yes. And we can talk about that, but we can talk about it right now. What a blast furnace does, it takes the iron products that you got, the concentrated pellet, and convert it into steel. That's what they do. When they export it, that's what they do. And then they sell the steel material back to us at exorbitant prices. So in the end, you don't gain because the royalty they're giving you, and you have to import these things, and the cost doesn't go to the government, it goes to the consumers. So it's a vicious cycle. We think we're getting something, but we are losing because if I have to buy steel raw at $50, whatever,
You have to import it, yeah.
and they're coming from the person who took my product from here and made steel out of it, and he's sending it back to me. So not only making profit out of the extraction, but he's also making profit out of selling the same thing to me, my people.
Mm-hmm.
You see the vicious cycle?
Right. So if all these different mines you mentioned, the LMC, Bone Mine, Lamco, any one of them had a blast furnace?
No, because that's where they make the money. You see, LMC had Republican Steel. That's a steel factory. Okay, Lamco had Bethlehem Steel. That's a steel factory abroad. That's why they fed the product. So if they let you do that here, then you cut down the profit, but you gain. But because those who were at the negotiation table did not either know or press for it, They let it pass and they were happy.
Wow.
You need to insist on a blast furnace or a mechanism to change product into added steel or whatever it is right locally.
Yeah, at least we could have.
And I can give some example of how that can be done. I mean, if we can do it now, no problem. But later on, I can do
Yeah,
it.
we'll soon get. So at
Yeah.
least in that way, we could become a local distributor. If even if it goes to Europe, they can sell to the Europeans. But at least that would have given us the chance to be a local distributor, and or at least make local iron products on our own market much cheaper.
Yeah, and then you cut down the profit it make, and, and you make profit from your own thing, your own product.
Right.
You see, for example, the government could set up this blast furnace should not be given to expatriate or another company or another contract. No, the government or Liberian who are interested should build the blast furnace, and this is how it's going to work. Okay, the government has a blast furnace or a Liberian owned company has a blast furnace. You usually install it at the port of exit, like in Buchanan or Bomb Mine Pier or something. The government has it. Okay, now tell Lamco, you gave me money for royalty. I want my royalty in concentrates or products. So when they bring it down, they give you yours. You convert that into steel, and then you have enough steel locally, and you can export. So that profit they're going to make out of you, you have it here.
All
Wow.
right. So, Doc, so I think you mentioned something earlier at the beginning of the show that these people have great experts who have been working in the industry for a long time.
Yeah.
And when they come to us in Liberia, we usually have people who have never been no exposure to the industry, trying to negotiate with somebody who have had experience in the industry for a long time. As we
Yeah.
usually say, as you usually hear in contract, is that the contract favors the writer. Whoever writes the contract, it favors them.
Right.
So if we are putting people in front of a body of people who have experience, who know how to negotiate, who know what they're going to negotiate before they even say before us. As
Mm-hmm.
when I mean us, I mean Liberia. That
Mm-hmm.
means we're already at a disadvantage before we even sit at that table.
Yes.
And the point that I
Yes.
wanted to make is that you mentioned that we could have asked for our royalty in pallets, where we
Yeah.
could have created value production in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any time in the period of Liberia where we actually one had the human capital to do that, or even had the expertise to be able to negotiate at such level?
People were there, but nobody mentioned it. This is the first time I'm talking about it on
Yeah,
how government can gain revenue. You see,
yeah,
the thing is, we got a lot of listeners out there. Let's take it as a football game.
mm,
Okay, you got Maradona coming to play in Liberia. So you got some strong guys who can really play, right? But because of who know you, they kept people Fisi there. So you expect to win? Huh?
yeah,
There are capable people in Liberia. Look, Liberia has spent a lot of money. I was sponsored through the Ministry of Lands and Mine to study mining engineering. We have J.Y. Babi. We got a lot of geologists. We got a lot of people. We got you. We got my brother Ismail. Liberia does not lack professionals, trained and experienced professionals. They are outside Liberia because nobody wants to open the door. We see this negotiation, we want to say something, but you're not giving the opportunity. You say, Fisi over there, then you want to bring trophy home? How can that be? It's not possible. Let's be real.
I like that analogy. You both, you
You
see
know,
everything
you
else.
know, you know, Dr. Moba, what you're mentioning, I've seen it in other industries where the people that send to the conferences to make these arrangements, organize, are not the people who have the requisite expertise to even understand these things. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And let me tell you something weird that happened. It may sound like a joke. After the coup, there was a minister of lands and mine. I don't want to call his name. So there was this conference. They invited experts to go to India to see power generation, lands, mine, energy. So he jumped on and said he will lead the delegation. But then I was a student at lesser mine. No. After the coup, I was working in NRC as a mining engineer. He jumped, said he got to go. Well, the minister wants to go, he had to go. So he led the delegation. He didn't only to say, I'm going to observe. I'm leading the delegation. They went. So they went and saw some plant generating power. So he asked, what are you using to generate the power? They said, we're using coal. Right there, he said, but we finally finding a solution for Liberia energy problem. They say, what? He said, we just go and get rid of firestone, cut all those trees down, burn it, and get enough coal to produce power. Not knowing the coal he's talking about is underground. He did not know the difference between charcoal and the coal itself. That is produced out of stress and other things on the ground.
Yeah.
So you see, now people try to tell you, he will not listen.
Wow.
And then what happened? At the negotiation table, the other team, they just look at each other and bow their heads. And they came home with that kind of news. Somebody advising, do not do this thing.
He still did.
A real life example. So imagine you got people negotiating that. You got enough technical people. At least let the technical people go. If you want to go and have fun, that's fine. Yeah. But in the interest of Liberia, and you're going to sign this document, you need to have serious people on the ground.
I will say this, and I will switch it over to Jimmy. A friend of mine put it nicely with all the, and I'm not trying to go on a tangent here, but a friend of mine put it nicely to what you said in terms of having the technical people and the people who are not technical leading the front, right? He said the people who don't have the skill set are the they're the loudest, they're at the forefront, they're doing everything possible they can. Whereas people who are technical or technical like you and Jimmy, you guys, you look at this, when you look at that pool of noise happening, you just sit back and say, I don't have to put myself in that. That is a cesspool, for lack of a better term, right? And these people who are not qualified will be at the forefront doing everything they can. And that's why they get put up, they get put in those kind of positions to go represent the country. That is nothing against them, but at the end, guess who all of us benefit from? I mean, we feel the impact of their decision, but those are the people who are the loudest, those who don't have the skill set, who at least have a little bit, but they're not very well rounded in terms of the industry and these other areas that you guys are talking about. They fight the hardest and make the loudest noise. And within our culture, we gravitate towards the people who make the loudest noise, and they just put them up front. So at the end of the day, we all feel the impact of it. But I think I say this without to getting too political. It is time for people like yourself, Mr. Eastman, and people who have the technical skill set to be able to, muzzle your way in. But even if you can muzzle your way in, those in leadership need to be able to say, hey, just because this person is the loudest or they're around me doesn't mean they know what they're doing, to be able to pick out the right people to negotiate on that. I just wanted to say that, but it speaks to exactly what you're saying, that we'll always put the people in front who do not have the prerequisite, who do not have the background, who have no clue what they're doing, but just because they know the person or they're close to the person or they know a family member who know the person, and they get put in the forefront. So Jimmy, over to you.
Yeah, so Dr. Mulba, let's go into this thing. Now we realize that at a negotiation table, you need expertise there, not real expertise, so that you can translate the verbiage, the language they're speaking, and also you can make strategic decisions before time. Yeah. Tell us a little more about the benefit of adding value. How does that translate in jobs and revenue generation?
Good. Okay. Technology has improved. Beneficiation, that means upgrading, has lowered the cut-off grade of the iron ore industry. Where they used to buy 47% up as a minimum, you can go down as 30%. What that tells us, the waste dumps that we have in other areas that we used to throw away are now iron ore, economic deposits. So all those like NROC and you see they coming to Bombing Hill, they just scooping things that we threw away. So Government owns those places. Government should establish its own blast furnace. No foreign investor fund should be in there. Or government should allow wholly owned Liberian company to do that. Then we're not only getting royalty concentrate all royalty from ArcelorMittal or those who mining in Bong mine, but we have access to those mines that have closed. We can reactivate those mines, and the concentrate can be fed into our own blast furnace. And to build a blast furnace is a lot of labor that you need.
Mhm.
Imagine we have blast furnace at each port of exit, Buchanan and Beaumont piers. We employ people, and then we create our own steel. We're not only looking for steel raw. Iron is used in every industry, every sector. Cars, wherever you can think about, ship, heavy duty equipment, those are all from iron ore. We can produce enough to sell it here and out and generate funds for the government. You see, but they come now. Why I talk about this? There's a steel, the so-called steel making company in Liberia by the SETI brother. I don't know if you heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the imports? They're trying to get ArcelorMittal to get them products. They might even maybe 20% or 15%. The other 85% coming from scrap irons. Where is scrap iron coming from? All those companies that were looted, the materials. That's what they're taking. Now, how can you take something that was already passed through the blast furnace and say it's a product? Soon, you see all those scrap, Bomber, Manaroa, they'll all be gone into those blast furnaces. Government should not have, SETI should have made an agreement to get 100% concentrate from ArcelorMittal, because soon, all those scrap that we're looking at, they're going to be gone to feed it. So to me, the government should have just built her own plant. It's not late. It's not late. We can do this because we have access to all our old mines that have become good economical again because of the downward bringing of the metallurgical process, which we call concentration. You see, we are able to concentrate lower grade ore now. So all our iron ore that we threw away and all the tailing ponds are now for us. But they are coming and going for it because they know they don't spend our money, they just scooping what we have.
Wow.
So would that also mean that we will have to renegotiate contract we have with ArcelorMittal to now, as you said, on your recommendation to give 100% of the pellets to what is this company, right? To now be able to produce steel within the country, because currently, as it stands, I don't think that's what we have in the contract. So that means we'll have to go back to the negotiating table to say, okay, based on these guys being able to add value in this whole value chain that we're trying to look at in terms of us trying to create jobs, let's renegotiate this contract. And there's just one clause we want to put in there. That is, you now have to, give these pallets to this company to be able to, I don't know if they're producing iron ore, steel in the country or just creating pallets there. But to be able to do that, and in so doing, they're able to create jobs, right? They're able to create jobs in addition to taking all those scraps, as you said, that were left over from the previous mining out of the environment, which could be better from the environment as well. So, but do you think that, eventually that's what needs to happen, right? We have to go back to the negotiating table to do that. And it takes someone with the gall, the audacity, to be able to go back to say, hey, this wasn't structured properly, even if it was structured properly, but based on our economic interest, this is how we want to proceed going forward. Do you think that's something like that needs to happen?
Good idea, but remember there's resistance to change. They are already making profit. They're not going to allow you.
Exactly, right.
So here's a workaround. The royalty they're paying to us, ask 100% of that in concentrates. They can't refuse that because you pay royalty to me. I want my royalty in minerals.
Yes, right.
You can't refuse. I don't need to negotiate that. I want my royalty, the equivalent in minerals. Transfer it to my smelting plant. Transfer
Okay, so that
all the money company. We don't want royalty, or maybe 25% in cash, but give me all my royalty in minerals and transfer it. Then what we're gonna do? We're gonna build the smelting plant in where they export the ore and create a conveyor belt system to feed our plants.
yeah,
So we don't have to truck it.
yeah.
As you send it to your ship, you put mine
Mhm.
on the conveyor belt, send it
On
to my plant.
send it to my smelting. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
So
let me.
we don't need to change any concession agreement, which will be very difficult. You'll meet resistance in the house and
Right.
you can't give
Right.
people envelope. No, I want my royalty in this, and you have it. So send it to my plant.
So now, as we start producing
Yeah,
so, iron products,
right.
steel, iron rod, all the different products,
Mm-hmm.
is there a good market for it around us, or do you see? I'm sure you're acquainted with the market for iron ore and iron products. Is there a good market in West Africa or even other places in the world? There would be
Liberia
no
is
problem selling it. That's what I'm asking.
no, there'll be no problem because right now Liberia is under reconstruction, and the local consumption of steel raw
Hmm.
is high. So
Okay.
we're gonna stop the importation of steel raw. You buy from
Exactly.
us. You buy
Right.
it from us, and we're gonna make it that the steel raw will compete in quality with what's coming. All of this
Exactly.
quality control, quality assurance, we need to be serious because
Yeah.
if we can compete and we say we're not importing any steel raw, the Liberia government can say, I don't want to import steel raw here. You gotta buy my steel raw.
Right.
And people building a house here, you're going to build a house, you need steel raw. You're going to put we can produce so many things. So we will have the market and our neighbors in solidarity with the ECOWAS spirit.
Mhm.
They hear that they can get steel raw from Liberia at a lower cost. Why would they want to pay for shipment? We got cross-country trade.
Yep.
That's right.
We can feed West
Exactly.
Africa. We can do it, and we'll have enough money, enough labor to enough people to employ, enough money to solve some of this economic problem if there is honesty in terms of revenue generation and utilization.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
uh, yeah, I have a another follow-up question. I
Mhm.
I think you mentioned
NIOC.
NIOC. You
Yeah,
also mentioned Lamco.
yeah.
Were there other steel companies in Liberia? And at the peak, uh, at the manufacturing peak that we had in Liberia, which, as I said, normal days, right? If you were
Mhm.
to estimate how many jobs or how much, I think you mentioned that earlier in terms of the economic, over the time it was 540 million. We only got 84 million, right? But from
Mhm.
a job standpoint, job creation standpoint, how many jobs, if you were to estimate, and we can just do a quick math in terms of each factory, how many jobs each factory
Yeah.
would have?
Okay. NIOC had about 18,200 employees.
Wow.
But mind you,
18,000.
yeah, no, sorry, 1,800 employees, almost 2,000 employees.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
But mind you, for every employee, 25 persons depending on that
yeah,
person.
yeah.
Minimum 25.
Yeah.
You know, when the company give you a house, all your people from somewhere they come to stay to go to school. And
Yep.
so every household, not physically 25, but you're responsible for a minimum of 25%. You gotta send money to your family over here and there. So
Mhm.
all of them depend on that livelihood. So if you want to factor in that, you can, and
The
Burma were in the
downstream
thousands,
effect, right?
right? The Burma
Right.
was also in the thousand. All of them were in the thousand, maybe 2,000, but not less than 2,000 workers
Yeah.
affected. Remember,
Yeah.
okay? But then with those factors, you see, and they have hospitals, they have schools, they have other things. And some of the problem we see with these mines, when they close, they have no alternative but to come back and seek job from the government. That's what happened
Mm,
with LMC. All right.
Mhm.
So, like I said on this show before, while the company is working, like ArcelorMittal, Birmingham Hill, create an agriculture program that will kick in when the company closes so that you still have the housing facilities, you still have the hospital, you still have the school. All the workers have to do is turn to agriculture. They don't move. They stay there and just be employed into that agriculture sector that government has put in place, not a foreign company. The government should participate in sustainable projects when the mine close. But when these mines close, everybody ran to Monrovia because there's nothing there, no hospital, no schools, no job, no money. So the houses just deteriorated. But if you have a sustainable program, if in the future when the mine closes, we have this agricultural program, whatever poultry or whatever farm, what you have there, all they stay right there. The school remains there, the hospital remains there because it all revert to government. The employees just turn their face to that job.
You know, I'm glad you actually mentioned that, right? I'll say that, Jimmy, and I'll let you come in, right? Doug, I'm glad you actually mentioned that because I saw this documentary with what is happening in Niger, right? With the right. So exactly what you said is exactly what they propose. So in certain, I don't know if you want to call it province, right? There were 60,000 people working in those factories. Those what is that mineral called that is in Niger that the French people are taking out? Um,
Uranium?
uranium, right? They the village, those towns,
Yeah, uranium, yes.
60,000 people because of the plant, the uranium plants in that place, right? 60,000 people. But what usually happen, the moment the factory closes, from 60,000 people living in a town, that is a complete city, right? If you're
Right.
looking at it, right? It goes down to 3,000 people. Everybody leaves from there because there is no other job in there. So one of the things that they proposed, which you mentioned here, was that when the French people started mining in those places, they told them that eventually this thing mineral will get exhausted. You
Right.
guys need to start thinking about how to create agriculture here. But the French people in there, because they were so focusing on mining, they didn't care about the after aftermath of what will happen to the people that will be left in the village. They waited until 3 months in, when they or maybe 3 weeks before the government went over. That's when they started planting these watermelon farms, trying to help the people that were being there were towns, and I mean a town, a multitude of people who were just grown men after the mines closed. They had nothing to do. They get up in the morning, all they do to go to the attire shop and sit down and just talk, right? Because they didn't the government, neither did the government or the factory, those factories that were there, thought about what would happen once those plants close. So that's
Right.
exactly what you mentioned here, that in the presence, while we're mining, we need to
Right.
start thinking about what happens once the plant closes, how these people are going to continue on surviving, like you said, the sustainability plan aspect of it. So I'm glad you brought that up. But again, it comes from you can tell this is somebody who thinks about that from a long-term standpoint, like from an expertise standpoint, and I'm glad you actually mentioned that because it actually sounds exactly what they were trying to do in Niamey in Niger. All right. Jimmy, over to you.
Yeah, so Dr. Moba, let's recap because I was kind of surprised when I heard that they were going back to Bummy Hills. I said the middle of Bummy Hill because first we learned that okay, they took the iron ore and just left a big hole. But now you have explained to us with the advancement of technology,
Right.
all that waste that right now can be mined
Yeah.
and make profit out of it. That's why they're going back there.
Yeah, because beneficiation is like a curve. It rises.
Mhm.
And we are taught in mining that as technology improves, the ability to beneficiate, to process the iron ore itself increases
Increases. Yeah.
because science and technology will improve the process. So what you used to take when we're mining in NROC was throwing away from 40, anything below 47.5% Fe iron content, it was a waste. But now there are some plants that can process from 30%. So from 30 to 47%, that chunk becomes ore.
Yeah.
And they know it. So when they come, they pretend that they're coming to mine. They're going to scoop those. And the tailing pond will have the 47% below there because a processor, it doesn't upgrade those low stuff. So the tailing pond for 20 years is more than a mine.
Wow.
And we own those. We own those. We said this thing over and over. People are not listening. This we have a gold mine right in Liberia with those mineral that those waste dump. Can you imagine for 25 years somebody's been mining? It's another whole iron ore deposit that we have there.
That's right.
And so they come and scoop it. They don't have any. They don't need any kind of haul pipe. They get a front end roller. Just scoop it up and put it on the conveyor belt and put it in the truck.
So let me ask you. I mean, as an industry expert, did they? I think it was negotiated. ArcelorMittal negotiated with the past government. Did you have a chance to look at it? Did he even come and ask you for expertise, or did you look at the agreement? Are we getting anything better than what we got the last time?
No, they didn't ask me, but I read it. The first era was the building of the concentrator, and I think I talked about that some time ago on another show here.
Yeah.
The concentrator is that machine, that a plant that upgrades the ore. Okay, so if you have 47% up, and you want, the market usually asks for 65% iron content in your product. So the concentrator takes the low grade ore after it's been blended and brings it up, upgrade your low grade to market price 65.
Okay.
So that means, yeah, if you have a concentrator, you can take the high grade ore and the low grade ore and blend it before you send it to the concentrator, and it will be able to produce a 65% Fe. That means your mine will last longer. But for what is being practiced now at ArcelorMittal, there's no concentrator. The concentrator was in the agreement, but it hasn't been built. I think for more than 15, 20 years, or whatever it is. It has not been built. So what they do, they are what we call high grading. They're going to do selective mining of the high concentrate. They call it direct shipment ore, direct ore shipment. They scoop it up, put it on the truck, and then put it into the cart. It goes to Picana, direct shipment. No processing. So in the end, there will be no high grade ore to mix it with the low grade ore. So the mine,
you're taking all the best and you're sending it.
So the lifespan of the mine is shorter. But if you will have a concentrator where the lifespan of the mine is 20, it could go to 40 because you have a whole reserve added to the high grade to mine.
Correct.
So the concentrator is very important in any process. Even Bon Mine had a concentrator. National Iron Ore had a washing plant. It's the same thing. But Acela doesn't have it, so they will have to do high grading. Now, when you talk about the lifespan of a mine, when you hear in the concession agreement, 25-year concession agreement, those investors are smart. It means the iron ore, the economic iron ore will last for 25 years. The economic mineral deposit will last for 25 years. And if you don't do any exploration to increase reserve, they're going to close in 25 years. So back to what Brother Kato was saying, if the government know that this concession agreement is going to last for 25 years, we got 25 years to prepare for closure, right?
Yeah.
Right.
For sustainable economic activity after the mine closes. So we don't have excuse. We have enough time. But we let it happen, then the people rush to Monrovia. There's no job. Then crime rate increases, and people have to live. You can't. Yeah.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on with Dr. Tama Moba, a mining engineer and analytical expert. We also realizing that these days with technology, we can even analyze the productivity, from mine to market, how we can improve the processes or whatever we using technology, using data analytics and whatnot. You want to speak to that? How Liberia could improve its production as it is today?
Yes, one area is export analytical port. For example, we say 65% or it's 25% as it goes into the ship.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets there, they also do their own analysis. There's a possibility that the technology used to do the analysis, the lab used to do the analysis here, could be a little bit inferior to the lab at the arrival point. Now,
Yeah.
they do a testing there. It's possible that it may be 67%. Okay. Now, if government has people at that point, the final point, the differential in there is money. It should come back to the government.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's nobody there, I mean, they don't tell you that it arrived at 68 or whatever. So you know it's 65% they pay you royalty for whatever that. If it becomes 68, 69, or even 70%, because the lab is so advanced, you're losing, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You see, and Liberia, as far as I know, does not have iron ore database.
Mm.
So they tell you 25 years. That's what they tell you. But if we have access to your geological data, how much you have, and we know your rate of extraction. Every year we know like Burma or 50 million, 1%, whatever. We know we can calculate how long you should actually be there. And we can also, if you should have a geology department to do continuous exploration and increase reserve, right? So I know when you increase the reserve, you're going to increase the number of time you're going to be there. It's not going to be just 25 years. You're going to be there 30 years. Okay. So after you do all of that, then you come to me at the end of 25 years, say that we have depleted the ore, that like they did in LMC. They can't say the ore is depleted, we got to go. Only to find out after they left that it was not true. The economic mineral deposit was still there. Why they go back to bombing?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Excellent.
again, we need people who know these things.
Right.
External people or consortium of data professionals
Right.
who are there not as employee of the government but as consultants in the
Mm-hmm.
primary interest of the people to advise the government. This trend is not economical. This will not benefit our people. We're not there to disparage or cause any problem, but in the interest of Liberia, we need to say it because these iron ore deposits are not forever. When they leave, they're gone. They are to be depleted.
Gone.
And in the process, the eventual is that the people must benefit in the process. Because when it's gone, it's gone. You call it
Yeah.
what before today.
You better be the iron while it's hot,
Yeah.
as we say. But Dr. Moba, we've been talking about iron ore, and we also realized just in 2021, we realized Liberia exported $429 million in gold, making us the 70th largest exporter of gold in the whole world. You know, so at the same year, Liberia, we see that it's increasing. You want to speak to the mining of gold in Liberia? How come all of a sudden the gold mining is on the up and up?
Yeah, I saw the article and I must commend Mame and I think Brother Carter and another person. There was a rebuttal
Yeah.
on that
Mhm.
report. That was correct. You see, in data analytics, you don't take projection or predicted data and use it as real. That has never been done. I've never seen that before. Okay. Well, there are cases where you train your model and it's capable of producing 95, 96% accuracy. And even with that, you can still give a caveat that this report is based on prediction, which is at a level of 97%. But this report will be updated when the actual figure arrives. Okay. But you cannot take a projected figure and report it as real. We call that data fabrication
Mhm.
or falsification. That's wrong. But they do this thing because we don't have a consortium of data professionals who are from Liberia, who have Liberia had to check this kind of data. Now, the first thing I will ask on that report, was there any reference, Brother Carter? Was there any reference in that report
No, there
of
wasn't.
what?
At least not
Okay,
from what I read.
that's the first red flag.
Right.
When you making a report and you don't make references, either in the beginning or the middle, to say according to this data from this source, you just make a blank report and claim. So either they're trying to make themselves look good or they have other motives for presenting something like that. Yes, we are mining gold in Liberia. B Mountain is mining gold in Liberia on a larger scale. And there are some clients who are Liberians, like the jewelers and all the people who selling gold and making chain in Liberia. They are clients for B Mountain. Yes, B Mountain is mining gold, both surface and underground. But without reference to where that data is coming from. I agree with them that it's not real, it's bogus. It was intended for some other purpose. That's my take on that.
So, if I may add to that, right? And I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. I believe if you're going to publish data on especially minerals and the increase in prices, you got to give, like you said, Doc, reference, right?
Yeah.
And to their point, I believe because gold has an inverse relationship with the global economy, right? With the financial market. So if the financial market aren't doing so well, people bet on gold as a backup, right? So if you invest globally, if you invest in the stock market isn't doing so well, you take the money out and put it in gold. If the stock market is doing well, you take your money from gold and put it in the stock market. So as currently as the market has been with the whole rebounding from the pandemic and where we're you know flat across the in terms of the stock market right now, a lot of people are taking money from the market and putting it in gold, right? In not just gold, but US Treasury and all of that. So with the demand of money going in gold, that's why the gold prices is up. They could have referenced that to say, hey, this is what is happening on the global market. Because of that, that's what's driving up the gold. I think gold is at an all-time high right now per ounce. I think, yeah, the last time I checked, it was at 1800. Maybe it's at 21 now per ounce, right? They could have referenced the Bloomberg. They could have referenced any other source to validate that. But to their point, the gold prices are high, but there was no reference as to where they got the data from. They just made a lousy, uh, you know, reference that gold is contributing higher economic value to Liberia without any reference to that. So again, if you're going to publish a paper,
Right.
you need reference as to where you got the data from.
Yeah.
But they didn't mention any of that, and I think for me that's what I disagree with the
I
articles
agree
from.
with you. That was a red flag, and that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable because you need to make reference. So I go to the source.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yes, if you say about gold, reference me to Lens My Energy,
Exactly.
and they better have that link for me to see it.
Exactly. Right.
You cannot
Yeah.
just throw figures out there.
Right. Dr. Mola, there's something, a very controversial issue that has come up. We heard that there's a company that was mining sand. I think they were given permission to do something with sand. And I'm being told that the machinery that they are using, they're not for sand, they're not for sand. Those are machinery to also mine minerals and like diamonds and gold and stuff. You being an expert in the industry, you're aware of this the ongoings of those miners, the sand miners there.
I have a sand mining. The first thing is what is the location? Because if you're giving authorization for sand mining, it should be along the ocean, the Atlantic coast. But where are they? Where are they? If they are in the interior part, then we got something called placer deposits. So that's where you find your gold and diamond. And the placer deposit is made out of sand, cobbles. So if they are in somewhere where a placer deposit is supposed to be. If I know the location, I can tell you whether it's placer deposit area or not from the map. So if they're not along the coast, Atlantic Ocean where beach man and sand money is on the beach, if they're in the interior, okay, where are they sending this? Where are they sending the sand? Where?
Mm.
So that means they try to mine a placer deposit and process where the gold is. We have gold in sand area, placer deposit. We have gold there. We have diamond. That's where we go. So on the high land you have the iron ore, and on the low land you have gold and diamond. The only thing, B Mountain is a high land, so it has gold, just like iron ore. It's underground also, so we know that. But placer deposit is where gold and diamond will live. So if I know where they're doing this same money, I will tell you whether it is actual same money or something else.
Yeah.
Wow, one of our audience is asking, is it possible to say you're mining ore and before you're mining other things as well?
It is possible, but it depends on the concession agreement. Here, let me give you an example. When I was working in Beaumont, my friends, when they meet me, some guys who working say, you're enjoying, my man. You're mining diamond, or you can tell, or when you're blast, nobody else can go there. So I would just laugh because in my final year, we were doing mining law and contract at the University of Liberia, and my assignment was to look at the concession agreement of Beaumont, and I found something very startling in fine print. The concession agreement said Bond Mining Company had the authority to mine iron ore and any other mineral found
Hmm.
in the concession agreement.
Hmm.
So even if Bond Mine was mining gold or whatever, diamond, whatever, and somebody exposed it, they will show you the concession agreement. So it is possible to have mineral associated, primary mineral and secondary mineral, they associate with each other. It is possible. Right now, when we're mining iron ore in NROC, right now, what we're mining, Congo, they mining diamond and gold there. Because the kimberlite pipe comes from Sierra Leone. So it passes through there and it contains diamond. See, but we were mining iron ore. You're concentrating on iron ore. If we have done our analysis, further analysis to see what other minerals are there, we could have found out that there were other minerals besides iron ore. So yes, it's possible, but your concession agreement will sell you. And this is where we come again. If you have competent geologists who know what's there on the concession agreement, on the negotiation table, it can be caught.
Yeah.
But they put that in the background and go and kind of give it to them. So that's the point right there. When you do a negotiation on your MDA, that's where you need to catch the thing. If you don't catch it, you're gonna lose. Because if you create any lawsuit, they'll show you the concession agreement and say this is it. Unless you
So
go to
Doug,
far. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I wanted to talk about. I think, in as much that we're talking about this and the benefits, the economic benefit that the country can have if we do the right thing, and some of the loophole that we're leaving out, or the opportunity that we're leaving on the table just because of the reluctance of the government from seeing out the effective, the every clause in the contract. I want to look at the opportunity side, right? Of where where the where there's limitation on the government side, where
Mhm.
private citizen can fill that gap. And what do I mean by that? So in the discussion, you talk about analyzing, the mineral that we can dig up. That even if we do that here, even though it might be a low quality, at the point of destination, they might be able to analyze it at a high quality. But because the government isn't exploring that, do you think it is, people like yourself or Jimmy or other professional in that sector can explore those opportunities? Because those are opportunity. If the government isn't exploring that, if you have capital, if you have the available capital, you can say, hey, you know what, I'm going to pitch this idea to the government since it is within the concession agreement and they are not able to do it. I have a company here that's able to do it, as so long that they're able to allow those minerals to come through me so I can do the analysis, because they don't have the plant set up to do that, right? So that's one of the the other opportunity, the other one you mentioned was the database. We don't have a mining database set up. That's something somebody on the private side can do. That's given that if you can set up a database, or let's say you or with you yourself and consortium or other people set up a company that is specifically just does the database for
Right.
mining in Liberia, that analyzes different mining, like different mineral, the gold, the diamond, the iron ores. It has a elaborate database company setup that does the database analysis. That is something you can pitch to the government, or you or yourself or anybody else can set up a company that does just that. Do you think we lack the ability to seize opportunity where the government short fall in our country? Because some of these challenges that we talk about, that where the government isn't, maybe as we said, the people that they themselves bring on board to do the work don't have the expertise, right? Because they lack the expertise in the government, we fail to capitalize on the full benefits of these concession agreements, even though some of them were drafted, fundamentally flawed, right? But there's still opportunity. And because they hire people or they bring on people who don't understand, who don't have the expertise, it leaves a lot of opportunity to be explored within the concession. Do you think we lack those, entrepreneurship mentality to say, hey, here's an opportunity here. There's no database. I can set up a database. Or here's an opportunity here. There's no plant here that can analyze the mineral that come. I can pitch this to a government to be able to do that, have a company that does just that, where the government can just funnel these minerals through me and I can analyze them, even though they might not be, the quality may not be to the standard of the international community. Do you think we lack that entrepreneurship mindset in Liberia, and we just put everything on the government?
Yes, we do. And in your article, you talk about Liberia suffering from data poverty. I think I read that in your rebuttal.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't mine. It was
Mame?
my
Yeah,
who had
okay,
it. Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
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 yeah. So fine. So data poverty leads to economic strangulation, right?
yeah.
If you don't have the right data, you make the wrong decision.
Mhm.
So simple as that. That's a fundamental principle of data analytics.
Yeah.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Now, yes, I understand, and we can have a solution, and that's why it's not too late. We can have a consortium of data scientists, however you may call it, in the various fields: economics, mining, geologists, like power generation, like my brother, like you. We can have a consortium of data professionals group together different companies. I'm going to talk about my company later on. Group
Yeah.
together different company, but this is a consultancy stuff, and then we can get the United Nations to give us contracts.
Yeah.
So that the reason I'm saying they will go in there as consultant, independent consultant for the government of Liberia, because if you go right now as an individual, you want to do that, people on the ground say you won't take my job. So we don't want to be part of a government where they're coming to take our jobs, and they put all kind of obstacles in your way.
Yeah.
So we find it that way. We go as under a contract from the United Nations, offering it wherever, to set up this data structure. We are there to advise the government on what needs to be done to improve our economic lot. Okay, and with that, I would like for you to bring up the screenshot I sent, so I can explain more on how that can be set up.
Okay, let me do that.
Yeah.
1 second right now.
Okay, so this is the integrated, database system. They call it enterprise database. Now, if you look at the various arrows, you see finance, administration, academic, these are just placeholders. Now, all the ministries, the mines, energy, agriculture, whoever you can think about that generates data that needs to be processed, we have the database in the enterprise database system that we will control. So, for example, if like the World Bank wrote this agriculture and mining, and they wrote this thing, we can stay right there and get into the Ministry of Mines and Energy for the gold statistics, because we have the access to their database. It's an integrated database of bunch of database grouped together under our control. Okay, if you are an economist, you take care of planning and economic affairs database. When we want something, we ask you, and then we advise the government, capital, our employer, the UN World Bank. So we don't need experts to come to process some of these bogus data that throw a whole lot of, because it makes it so rosy. People say, but Liberia doesn't need help. They got all this gold export, which is not true.
Yeah.
So we, as professionals, Liberian professionals, come together on a consortium. Like Dr. Jipuna Tiepo is an economist. He's at the university in Canada.
Yeah.
A brilliant economist. We have Dr. Brutus Cooper. He has his own company, environmental company, and he's around. Okay, I have my own company called MEM Data, Mineral Exploration, Mining, Data Exploration, and we do all of that. Okay, limited. So all of these, you have some expertise. We all can come together, form a consortium, speaking with one voice in the interest of the people, and then we'll go in under a contract. We're advising the government, and we're not threatening anybody's job. You see, so all of these funny reports that are coming out, and so many tons of gold and all of that, we can confirm. We will produce the report, not an external source who's not familiar with our territory. So yes, it can be done. It's not late, but this is you can keep it up and ask me any question. But this is how you do it. All of these external things could be ministries or agencies that producing data. So we have a national database of data. When you talk about I want economic data, you come to this group. You don't go piece around. You reference us if you want to in your report, but you don't publish something that have no reference and that doesn't relate to us. Like we will be like proving any kind of economic, any kind of data that coming out of Liberia, we will sanction it, make sure that it's true. Yeah.
So, first question out of this from this chart: how much do you think it'll cost to build something like this? Like from a low ball estimate standpoint, if you were to embark on it, how much do you think it'll cost?
Well, it's hard to give a figure now, but
Yeah.
A robust integrated database that cover Liberia will be costly, but initial cost will eventually be paid off. It will pay for itself because we're gonna streamline corruption.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a whole lot of things in the interest of the people.
Yeah.
But we don't need approval from someone in the government, and then that's a bottleneck. You want to be an independent body sponsored by the World Bank or United Nations that has so much interest in minimizing corruption.
Right. No, I the reason why I said that, and that was the reason, the fundamental reason for my question is because if the government cannot put up something like this, because again, they lack the expertise, there's an opportunity here from the private side that can be explored. In addition to that, the reason why I asked the cost, and I think you kind of preempt my, where I was going with that is, I believe if you or a group of people like yourself with the expertise in that sector can build something like this, it will be able to pay for itself. Why? Because if you build it and you're collecting data, if the World Bank want any mining data on Liberia, they will come to you. You can charge them for them to access that data.
Right.
If any private person want any mining data on Liberia, whether it's the economic, they want to use it at the university level to teach, you can charge universities to have access to this data because they can now use this to teach anything on mining from this database, and you can charge them a monthly fee, a servicing fee. So I believe it's going to be able to pay for itself, but it's just again, as I said, I think with the money piece, the capital to be able to have people, to be able to build something like this, I think that's what is missing because the government doesn't.
I agree with you, but we got something called streamlining. You don't have to start with all of these. You start with two.
Right.
You increase your capacity. As people get interested, you add. It's an add-on process. So you will not start with all of these in one place. Maybe you start with Ministry of Mines and Finance and Economy, whatever. Three ministry. There are certain areas like National Investment Commission, Bureau of Concession. municipal lands and mines where we have focus on actual money for the government. Then we start to add maybe agriculture, we add something as we get more funding, we expand the database. You can start with 3, but you will show an example, you will prove that this is workable.
Yeah.
And once you start to show that it's economically sound and it minimizes waste in the system, you're going to get more funding. Even maybe the UN and World Bank will give you all the funding to do it when they see progress.
Yeah. Jimmy.
Yeah, Dr. Moba, you mentioned something very important on this show today, and it will be in our interest if we think about it. You talk about the plan for the future now, don't wait. And you talk about if you know that in 25 years this mine will be depleted, you should already start preparing the people, the workforce, the community for this transition.
Mhm.
Now, can iron mines like that, can they be repurposed for some other industry? Can you do something with those mines once they're done to repurpose them?
Yeah, you're talking about mine reclamation now. Okay, like bombing hill called bombing holes. You cannot put the ore back. The ore is the hole has been formed. So what you
Yeah.
can do, you can do tourist attraction. You can clean up the bottom of there and put water there and stock it with fish or whatever for economic benefits. But you cannot put the Gina back in the jar. I mean, in the bottle, it's gone. But but you can take advantage of right now in Birmingham. They got something called Blue Lake. Everybody going there having fun. But if you go and suck out the water and clean the bottom, make sure all those tractor, those iron teeth that can hurt people are no longer there. You can refill, stock it with fish, and then put boats, make it a tourist attraction, and then it starts to generate money. Yeah. That's the way you can reclaim those bombing hole. Nobody should tell you somebody can go fill it up. It's not possible. But you can do that. And then in a plaza deposit, you can reclaim the land and put it back to where it was because it's a level land where you mining gold and diamond, you just destroy the land. But it can be repurposed and you can go back and plant vegetation or whatever you want to plant, make farm and garden over there. That's possible.
Or you can do landfill.
Yeah, you're right. That's possible because that's easy but not the bombing hills thing.
Yeah. Huh. Jimmy, that's a great question, by the way. That's a great question.
Yeah, very, 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 very very relative. Very relative.
Very good question, Jimmy.
Yeah. So
we can do it. We have the capacity. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to recommend that we maybe.
No, I'm done. I'm waiting for you all.
Yeah. Jimmy, you think should we take a break before going to the comments?
Yeah, let's take a quick break.
Okay. All right, because I think we have a lot of comments here to run through in these
no
guys,
problem. We're here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to say this thing in the interest of the people because the country is rich. You see, thirsty in abundance of water. This is what I always say. It's not possible. You can't be around water. You thirsty, man.
Yeah. All right, let's take a short break and then we'll come back and then go to your comments. I know you have a lot of comments on there, so bear with us. We'll be right back in a few minutes. All right.
No problem.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
Hi, my name is Addie Tyler from Pennsylvania, and you're watching Focus on Liberia.
Very good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are on with Dr. Moba, a mining engineer and expert, and also a doctor in data analytics. We are We're just waiting a little bit before the doctor to join us.
Yeah.
Our next discussion, we're going to ask Dr. Moba the impact of the mining industry on the environment and what can be, are we taking the necessary precaution to avoid a negative impact of the industry.
That's a great question.
Later on, there will be a Liberian history discussion with Ja and Miss Paul Pumler, a very knowledgeable research lady in the area of Liberian history. Dr. Moba,
Yes, sir.
thank you for all the information you'll be giving us. Now we're going to look at we see how iron ore proper mining can benefit us. But let's look at, are we doing mining? Is there a potential for contaminating ourselves? Are we mining? Are we taking the necessary precautions so that we don't feel a negative impact of mining? Have you? We talk about EPA. We talk about various contaminants that could come from the mining process. Would you like to comment on, are we taking the requisite safety measures when we do mining in Liberia?
I don't think we are. And based on past experience, especially National Iron Ore Company, if you went that way, you saw Mount River, it was like brownish, some color you saw all the time. That was because the waste from the washing plant they let it go into Mount River. And that affected the fauna and flora. And the people downstream had to dig wells to get water. And, it was environmental problem for the mining sector has been a big one. And recently I heard some cyanide leaking from other mines and Cocoya, those, and even the B Mountain. So they need to do more. They need to do more because I'm a living witness of the Monroe landslide. I don't know if you heard about it.
Yes, we heard about it. Killed some people in one town. Yes.
Yeah, 1982, October.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And fortunately for me, I was leading the ship that night, the night of the landslide. I was on that hill. I was leading the team from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. I worked that night on that shift, and I said goodbye to people I was supervising. And by 3 a.m., the landslide took place. And some of those guys who were with me, they were living in Norway camp, and they were
Norway. That was the camp.
And they were victim. Some of the people I supervised and shook hands with that night died in that landslide. The very hill I was on, the very spot I was standing is one of those spots I broke down and went into the Monroe, into the tailing ponds, and then into Norway. Why? Because government was not monitoring where they put the waste. Okay, this waste dump have been there for 15 years, but they had it on a slope. So that year it rained a lot, and then it soaked the waste dump. But because it was not intact with the solid ground, it was not connected, it was just hanging there. And we heard that there was some earthquake in East Africa, that the sonar came on this way and triggered the wet material to go down into the tailings. When it went into the tailings, which was over Norway, I don't know why they build those kind of things, it spilled over. What I'm trying to say here is, if the government have been inspecting the mines, someone will have noticed that this was a disaster waiting.
Potential, yeah.
Yeah, potential disaster. So EPA, I hope they're doing better, but they need to do more, because with this news of cyanide is so dangerous. And that's what they use to process the gold.
Yeah.
and then they let it seep into the rivers. So
Hmm.
we need to do more.
So in these agreements, because a lot of times people have to go after the companies who caused the damage. Uh, in these agreements, is there a clause there that say if they contaminate the environment in any sort of way that they will have to pay amends for that?
Yes, there is and there should be. I've seen some, but the thing is to enforce. For example, in Mara River, the safety officer got his job because he had a connection with the power that be. He never went to
Hmm.
safety school. He hardly went up to the man. All he was doing was distributing rainbows and coats. And that he was right there, the disaster took place. Then he decided to go and see what happened. But, sir, you're not going to take action about something that has happened already? But you see, nobody could talk because he was in connection with the power that be. So again, like Brother Kato said, you put people in places where they don't belong. Just give the man a job in an office where he can sweep. You give him 2,000 or 50,000 out of his business, but don't put him where he's to make critical decisions that
Yeah.
affect the people.
Yeah.
I mean, you can give him anything you want to give him, let him have it. But when it comes to critical decisions that affect the life of the people, I just beg that they put the right people there.
You put an expert there.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. I give you my experience. They were I heard them talking about putting 5G in Liberia. That LTC would have launched 5G. I said, but you can't have 5G if you don't have 4G. Why don't you
yeah,
work toward building your 4G
Gradation, right?
capacity before you even talk about? That's when you know you're talking to people who are talking, saying these things. They don't have any idea
Yeah.
about it. And of course, later on, nothing happened. That whole project just, of course, because you're doing something you don't have no knowledge of. And all you need to do is call one or two experts. You don't, just for consulting. That's why I don't understand why
yeah.
they don't even want to use Liberian expert just to consult, just to advise you with this. You can do this, but you can't do that one. You can, if you put it this way, you will get this benefit.
The
You know?
thing will take their jobs. That's what I'm saying. You got to go in as an independent person under the auspices of the World Bank or the UN. I'll give you one example. My first boss, he was a British man in Monterey. He taught me real mining engineering. When I got there, he put me in the field. So we were to get some hauling truck from Bomai, but Monterey were using 50 tons truck, and Bomai the minimum was 120 tons. So the accountant and other people, they wanted the money. They made all the padam. They said we're going to a Bomai to get some trucks. So the chief engineer, Mr. Jarvis, he called me and said, I'm not going to go. I said, why? He said, watch, you watch. So they got the padam, they got in the king. The general manager said, we should go now. He said, tell the general manager, I am not going. Oh, people already have their padam ready. So he said, let's go. Went to the general manager's office. He said, sir, the trip is not necessary. He said, but we're going to lose a truck. He said, it is a mismatch. That means the 50-ton truck has a shovel capacity that can fill it in a cycle time.
Yeah.
If you bring the 120-ton truck, it's going to take so long for that shovel to
Yeah.
fill that truck, leading to loss in production.
Yeah.
You got to match the shovel with the truck. He said, that's why I'm not going, because it's a mismatch. We don't do that. And the trip was canceled.
Again, I'm glad we pivoted towards the environmental side of this thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's I think the way we look at it is you know, yes, we understand that the government may not be in a position to, and this is not just this government, even the previous one as well, even the one before, right? To hire people within with expertise to look at the environmental impact, because I think as a country, I always like to say that we should have an economic agenda, interest as a collective nation, like to
Mhm.
the point where we're looking at this concession. It shouldn't just be about, okay, we're going to give this contract, the mining agreement to Jimmy. Jimmy is going to mine iron ore, and then after that, we don't even think about what becomes of the place that Jimmy mine iron ore. I think Dr. Doc, you alluded to that we need to think about the sustainable path, plans as we
Yeah,
go. And that's how I believe we should be looking at all of these plans and these places, not just the plans and the places, but also the chemicals that are being used. What
yeah,
are the impact, the long-term impact on one, the environment, and also the people that are within those areas as well, who are going to be around those chemicals as well. We don't think about that. The same thing with Firestone. You've heard about the chemical that those acid
right,
that they use
right.
to put in the latex, right? The impact that they have on the people down the stream, that they what's that water that Firestone, that water that what
The
I heard, that
durable,
this fish used to be dying in the water, and people
of course.
use that water for for their livelihood.
Hmm.
And we didn't catch on to that until later on. I think probably 10 or 20 years ago before we caught on to that, right? We don't look at these things collectively. One, not only collectively, we don't look at the long-term impact of what is this going to do to the environment? What is it going to do to the people? In addition to that, once these people leave from this place here, how can we repurpose this place here in terms
Right,
of continuing to have a better environment for the people that are around here in the country as well. We don't look at these things, and we just, it becomes like this cycle where we make the same mistake over and over. And if we had people within the government, as I always like to say, we that are knowledgeable, maybe few of them will think about these challenges that we have on the environmental side, from a long-term standpoint. But also, I also like to put the onus on people within the private sector, because I don't believe, I'm a guy who believes in limited government. I believe government is just supposed to be there to make the environment conducive for a society to thrive. So if they're not doing everything they could do, then we need to have people within the private sector who are capitalizing on this sector. We need to have environmental watch group. We need to have environmental watch organizations, people who cares about their country well enough that if they see something like that happening in a county or in some place, or some company that is mining, carrying out some illegal activity and using some chemical that is impacting the society or the county, they should be able to come out as a group and stand up again. This is what we have around the world. This country, this is what I love about this America. You see somebody here doing something, there will be a group that will stand up to that company, and they will. But we don't have such a group or bodies like that in the private sector. And I think the mistake we make is trying to relegate everything to the government. And we already know from since 19 who we, like my Omar used to say, the government the government doesn't have the capability to do that. So we continue to beat them, to hold them to account to do that, but in essence they don't have the capability. It's time that we need to bring in the private sector to look at these things, either from a opportunity standpoint, from an economic standpoint, or from just purely a patriotic group say, hey, we don't want, this is not the kind of long-term environment that we want. This is not the kind of community we want people to live in. We have to demand that these companies that operate within these communities and counties do right by the people. And that includes the kind of chemical they use here as well. So I think the government has responsibility, but also we as a private citizen have responsibility as well, as patriotic people, that if you don't see the government doing what it's supposed to do, hey, you form a environmental watch group that's going to hold people to the account, go to this county and check up on these companies here that are mining in those areas and make sure that they're doing the right thing that they're supposed to do. So I'll leave it on there for now.
Yeah.
Yep.
We need, the first thing is to remove the fear factor within the government sector.
Yeah.
So to do that, as I said, a consortium of professionals, it can be, we can give it any name. We group together. You have environmental professionals like Brutus Cooper, or you talk all the environmental problem that his area of expertise is one of them. We come to you, you have your data, your agriculture, whatever you have, you want. We come to our brother Jimmy, his power generation and all sort of things. He can do it. We come together as a consortium, one group, going into Liberia under the auspices of an external body that were funded by.
Yeah.
That removed the threat within the government. They will accept it. Because People think if you went into Liberia to establish a company right now, they think you're going to try to get in, and they're resistant to change or whatever they're doing. But if we are backed by an international body, an international organization that also relies on clean data, we're not talking about just any data, but clean and sustainable data that we can prove through the integrated database system. Then we have different departments or different sections. When it comes to environmental problem, we go there, and that section has access to the environmental database of whatever company is mining. We have access to everything you have. We will have a mandate. Give us your database. We want this information. If you want to limit us on your personnel, like money, we're okay. We want to have access. So we have this. The whole structure, everybody is in the economic health and all of that. We have, So we produce our own data because we know the environment. We know Liberia. Someone can come from the UN and sit down there as country person, doesn't even know anything about the mineral resources or the economic potential of the people. So that is the way we can go. So as I say, I will just talk a little bit of what I do.
Yeah.
I own a company called Mineral Exploration, Mining, and Data Management Consultancy Limited. That's my area. If you got one, that's your area. We come together as a consortium, find a contract, a sustainable contract, and help to clean up the data problem in Liberia so it can be trustworthy from Liberians.
Yeah, I think, Dr. Moba, we'd be remiss if we don't go to this one type of exploration. We notice we've been hearing about oil exploration on our coast. And at one point, we opened a company, NoCal, that was receiving funds for, and that's just the exploration. My understanding that oil exploration or oil mining is very, very expensive along in the sea. And I guess it must be in very large quantities if the companies would even venture to do it. Well, you want to give your insight over this industry and what it means for Liberia, as we hope that's good news for us one day that they will find oil.
Yeah, 1 minute they say it's there, 1 minute is not there. And again, I went to their website. You can't have access to the data. It's not there. So with all data, it's difficult to advise. But I know that there was exploration done, and I know some people sold some oil blocks. So we're hearing stories. But if a company can come and do exploration, they must have had some indication of something that's there. But with our data, we can only surmise. So yes, we can explore that area. But again, we need the hard facts. Someone needs to be brave to give us the data. And when we can do the data, we can find the data, we can explore. And we don't even have to say, oh, maybe a whole company was set up and all blacks were demarcated. It tells me that there was something potential. It couldn't have been done just like that. Nobody will waste money on such a heavy investment, and then you say we didn't find anything. But you see, if they don't make the data available, we cannot make comment. But we know it is there and was announced. Some other company, Exxon Mobil, they were here. They were in Liberia. They were not just there for nothing. And I just heard that they're going to reactivate it again. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So if you're coming by, that means you know something is there. The same way with the mining company that are coming by under the disguise of this. Why are you coming back to something you say it was finished? So yes, that's a potential that we can explore. Again, when we have our consortium, all those little places will be tied into our integrated database system. And then we'll have data. We'll have something we can rely on. I will be able to sit here and tell you, Burma is going to close at a certain time, or they were supposed to close, but they just discovered some reserve through geological exploration. So the life of the mine has extended. So if the company came to the government and say we're going to close as the test, no, you can't close now because we have your record here. You are updating your record every day. So you cannot close. It's not possible. So Dr. Fodekroma was the one who disproved LMC closure. He said there was enough ore there, so they didn't have to close. But LMC are already closed and gone. Then the government asked you to go and investigate. I mean, putting the cart before the horse, right? The company left. Then you ask. So that's it. We have the potential. Liberia is rich in terms of minerals. And because it's not renewable, we have to make use of it now to maximize the economic for our people.
Exactly. Yeah.
The impact.
Yes. It will soon be gone. And we say once upon a time we had it. We got it now.
Yeah. All right. So I think we have a lot of comments here. I think we should take some time and go to the comment.
Okay.
I think this was a very interesting topic. So a lot of people are busy.
Do you want me to take some notes and answer, or just listen?
Yeah, just take some notes. You may want to address it later.
Okay, I'm going back to school. Y'all hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one, and now again, not everyone you might want, but just
no. I guess the most important,
right?
The most important.
So Dr. Malva, it is possible. I don't know what he was referring to. Years of Liberia being cheated of our iron ore and mineral wealth. Can we, Liberia, sue the UAW?
Bethlehem Steel.
Okay, Bethlehem Steel Company and Boeing. Boeing, is that the airplane company?
Yeah, but I don't see where Boeing coming in there. But Bethlehem Steel was the one using the iron ore from Lamco. Lamco was a captive mine.
Okay.
So again, that's why Lamco lasted for so long. Bon Mine was a captive mine, and it will surprise you. I worked for Bon Mine. We worked for 12 months. We got paid for 13 months.
Wow.
Kind of shock you, right?
Yeah.
In December, you got 2 checks. One to tell you thank you. One to give you your December pay.
And you guys are really making it. That person, he laughed. So the person that walked by and said, "You guys are making money here," he was right about that.
Yeah. I mean, because the company had a captive mine, they didn't have to go and banjo the ore, the product.
Yeah.
The ore was going. I was responsible for statistics of the iron ore from the mine through the concentrator pellet plant, on a railroad, to the ship. I have data statistics for all of that. So I was on top of it. I knew exactly what was where. So they were really doing it. They were really producing and making money. And they were using their own stuff. They didn't have to sell it to anybody. It would go straight to the steel plant in Dusseldorf.
Yeah.
Wow, west to the west.
It's a comment here by Jerome. He said, why is the private sector, he meant to say, what is the private sector doing? Obviously, there's a gap. Why are they thinking about why? I think he means to say, why are they thinking about government? Why aren't we monetizing your idea? You could be the next steel magnet. I think he was talking to you.
Yeah, he's talking to Liberia, I think.
Yeah.
If Liberia use some of the things we sell, like building a steel plant, blast furnace.
Yeah.
We monetize the products in our interests, and Liberia could be a steel magnet. He's right.
Yeah.
If we do those things.
Yeah, and this is a matter against NIOC, MC, BMC. Man, we have all these companies in Liberia.
Yeah, National Oil Company, Liberia Mining Company, Bon Mining Company, Lamco. They were the four original company that put Liberia as the third world largest iron ore exporting company. And they were in concurrent. They were all working and operating at the same time.
Yeah.
The extractor company in Liberia. That's true.
Yeah, we could have been a rich company just from that during that time. And then he has a question here for you. He said, Dr. Mulby, is it possible mining iron ore and other minerals can be extracted from the mines?
Yeah, it's possible.
Right now, I think you meant right now. Okay.
It's possible.
Yeah.
But again, depending on your concession agreement, if you don't measure it and you mining it, you can't report it.
Right. And then somebody was exactly what you're saying. Somebody, Bartolomeo, he said that is that is just what's recorded. Imagine what you're saying, right? He said, imagine the ones that's not recorded and those that are illegally minded and leave unaccounted for. You know
Yeah.
that would mean those that
Hmm.
leave those minerals that leave unaccounted for.
Right.
Uh, that's and then
Yeah.
Sam Wallow has a statement here. I think this is a statement. He said, Ministry of Land, Mines, and Energy should have the capacity and capability to do its own projections and effectively track Liberia's minerals. And the university in Liberia should also serve as a resource to the ministry in these relevant areas. And and if someone or a group of experts come in and hear I think maybe he meant to continue that. But what
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
trying to say, yeah, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, he's saying something very important. And let me just say something here. You know, I was at Lens of Mine right after the war, and we were there in 1994, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96. So when I became an assistant minister of mine, I asked for a database. Nothing. Where are the records? We always have problem. Every year they come and renew their license for gold and diamond
What year was
exploration.
this when you asked for that?
95, 94,
Wow.
95.
And we still
Yeah.
don't have it.
Yeah. So what I did, we had a conflict. What used to happen, every year they come and renew their, mining claims. There were no records. So somebody will sell the claim to this person, sell the same claim to the other person. And then when they go in the field, they meet there and confusion comes. Sometimes they fight. And then they come back to the Ministry of Lands and Mines. And I have to resolve those issues. So I was fortunate to have a computer with Excel spreadsheet on it. So I designed a program where every claim had a control number.
Mhm.
Everything was there. So when you came the following year, if you came to renew, and I lack it, so you could not remove the data. So when I found that number, it's going to tell me whether you renege on renewing the contract and the claim reverted to the government,
Mhm.
or you have to renew your contract. And your name is there. If you cannot give me that code that we gave you when we created your file, and we search that it's not you, you cannot renew it and it
Yeah.
cannot come to you.
Yeah.
So we had it locked down a little bit. And that's how I managed to stream down those things and create a database in Excel
Mhm.
to try to put some sense into some of these activities. It
Watch this.
minimized, but
All right.
we're about to make it bigger, and it says send us away. Yes, there's no database. I checked the Ministry of Mines before I came here, their website, nothing, only pictures of themselves. They don't have it. They don't have it. I'm real.
Ay,
So
ay,
we need,
ay.
so you see, there we come again with a consortium. If
Yeah.
we have a consortium and we have our own integrated databases, and every government entity will be forced to have at least a computer that has data that we can link to. I don't need to go to Lens and buy. I already have it.
Yeah. So we have another guy here, another comment here for Samuel. I think he disagreed with the entrepreneurship uh, comment that we made. He said, I
Mhm,
disagree that it is lack of entrepreneurship on the part of Liberians. A
mhm,
key problem is successive government over decades have denied Liberian entrepreneurs the opportunity they bring forward in favor of non-Liberian for
mhm.
reasons that are not fully known. Um, uh,
Good. Yeah, so we try to solve that problem by coming in as a consortium funded by external sources, not dependent on government.
there you go.
They
Right.
will have the leverage.
Right. Um, and then Samuel again, he said there should be 10 or more lobbying firm in Monrovia today, but instead the legislator are the ones taking money to that is true to lobby themselves to do work that they are already paid a salary for. How many private jobs would these lobbying firms have created by now. That's a great point. Actually,
That's a
I
great
agree
point,
with you.
Waldo.
Yeah,
Yes, Sam Waldo,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Um, and Sam is busy with us here today. So
Hmm.
how do we know that the water in Blue Lake is not it's not blue due to the major chemical contamination? Is that the lake really naturally? Oh, that is a great question though. Did anybody ever test the water as to why it's blue?
That's why I want to say here that it needs to be tested. But iron ore has a tendency to release color like that. But I cannot be sure that it is 100%. So all we gotta do is do some analysis. Then we'll be able to find out whether we have diseases or all of that. What I'm saying here is to suck that water out because under there could be
Mm,
old, trucks,
yeah,
you know, shovel that have broken down.
yeah.
That's the last level of the pit where it is. That was the last place they worked. So you need to get it out, clean the bottom, and then you know, replenish it with fresh water, and you can
And
stock
see
it
if
with
it
fish.
become blue. Right, right.
Yeah,
Would
the
that
blue.
would
Yeah, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, I'm finished. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, was before that, did we ever know if it was blue prior to the it being mined, or is it because of the mine that caused it to have that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
hole?
After they abandon the mine,
Yeah.
then it's the rain season and water. Because while they were there, they used to suck the water out. And it came when they were mining. But after the mine ceased operation, and then the pit is secluded, it's enclosed, right?
So it was
So
man-made. It wasn't just there.
no, it's man, it's well, you can say man-made or natural made, but it wasn't there because
Oh, that's what
they
I
were
mean. So the
mining.
mine that
Yeah,
brought it there.
yeah, it's a mine that brought it there after they
Okay.
they they, they dug the ore and left the
Right.
place. Then after some time, yeah, there is a man-made. It's man-made
Yeah.
indirectly.
Yeah. Then I think I agree with his suggestion that it needs to be tested. That we have to test it because you can't have. I believe people swim in it. Tourists go there to look at it. I don't know people swim in it. Who know what you could
Well,
be getting from
yeah,
that?
yeah, but also let's remember, it may not be 100%, but the Atlantic Ocean or the ocean reflect the color of the sky.
Right.
So I don't know. We have to do analysis to see what really causes it to be blue.
Right. All right. So we're almost done with the comments here. Emmanuel, he said that tomorrow I grew up in Talaquimau County. During the rainy season, the sand will get very white. Do you know of the mineral deposit in Tala? Former American air base that's a former American air base in World War II.
No, I
I mean,
haven't heard about Tala. I mean, I can research, but I haven't heard about Tala, and so I cannot say that deposit or mineral content will cause the sand color to change. So until I get further information, I can make a research and get back to you through focus on Liberia.
yeah. All right. So I think one more here and then we're done. The last
No
one.
problem.
Yeah. I think this is a statement. So the government is is a regular. I think he meant regulator. Uh,
Hmm.
is a regulator. The private sector does not have the power to do that, and neither do you want the private sector policing, auditing pri- the private sector. What was he referring to? I think you're talking about. No, I think in essence, you can have the private sector be a force. Over here, we have environmental organizations. We have a lot of nonprofit that are, like the climate fund that are actually the ocean, like that monitor what happens to the ocean, the monitors what happens to the environment. These are not government funded thing. These are private people who cares about the environment coming together to do that. Uh, in maybe the other topic we're talking about in terms of we cannot have the government doing everything they're supposed to. You cannot you cannot we cannot expect government to do everything for us as a country,
Right.
as a nation. Other than that, we will not go anywhere. We will be here for another 176 years and not go anywhere if we think that government is supposed to do everything. What government is supposed to be is just the conduit, the environment, create the environment. Sometimes even in this country they lag behind in creating the environment. I always like to give people the example of the hedge funds. Hedge fund, when it pick up, it got to a point where the government had no idea what hedge fund used to do. Eventually, they start catching on before they start creating regulation around it to protect people. The same thing with the private equity here. When it started, it had a bad rap. They just think these are a group of guys that would just come here, buy a company, fire a lot of people to reduce the cost, and then they make a lot of money and then they take it public. That was the name. It was eventually the government started creating regulation. We can go on and on. The same thing with the technology space right now. The
Right.
government is clueless. This is why you have the Google, the Apple, and these Facebook. They have become mini democracy within themselves, setting rules that the government they can run laps around government. Eventually, the government catches on. So we cannot be in a place where we say, "Hey, we want government to do everything." We have to allow them to just create an environment and let the private sector create industries within within the country that will create jobs and within those countries. So we cannot relegate everything to the government and say that we want to advance as a society. Maybe I don't know if that's what you're speaking to, but that's my take on
Well,
it.
Sam Waller, we have a solution to what you just have on the screen right now. That's why the consortium will serve as a buffer between government and private sector. We'll cater to everybody, have them in our system, and we'll harmonize whatever is the problem. We assure you that we will be able to give you clean data, and it is your own people. It's not outsider telling you something, you just take it for face value.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he clarified his comments
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
The
yeah.
government should be the regulators.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah,
Waldo has
I
some
agree.
good ideas. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that wraps up the end of the comments here. Jimmy, over to you. If we, I don't know if you have
You
anything
know,
to take. Right.
like you pointed out, our benefit, our future depends on the decisions we make.
Right.
And if we're going to make decisions, we want the best minds, experts to weigh in on it. It is, it is. There's no need for us to send people somewhere that they don't have knowledge about. And we've been making this mistake, um, and we continue to make the same mistake. But as you can see, audience, we have experts. Liberia can benefit from the expertise from Dr. Moba and many other. But why are we not open to allow ourselves to benefit from uh, our experts? Instead, we reject them and they go abroad, and then we have what is called the brain drain. So hopefully things will change. We look forward to it, and that where we will have people like Dr. Moba going and being able to go back and volunteer his services to our country. And Dr. Moba, we really appreciate you enlightening us on this industry. Would you like to leave a few words with the audience before you go?
Yeah.
Yes, first of all, I thank you all for inviting me. I thank the audience for participation. We talk about giving the expertise the opportunity to serve Liberia and her people. And I will end up with just a small reminder of what the late Albert Put said at the first oration of 26th oration after the coup. And he was a friend of the PRC, and they love him. So he had the opportunity to give the oration. And he said, "My people, the nurses have prepared the patient for surgery. Give the physician who have the capable hand to do the surgery."
Aye, aye, aye.
And I think you know what that means.
Yep.
And they clap for him, but someone went and whispered into the head of state, in the ear of the head of state later on. He said, "Do you know what that meant?" Say, "We should get the thing back to the people who know the thing." After that, Abopo was an enemy. So
Wow.
he said exactly what we're saying here today. Give the expertise the chance to help you. It's no harm. If you allow them to help you, you go to sleep sound. You see, so that's it. That's the central point. Liberia they have used money to educate so many of us. Some of us, we left Liberia because of conditions like war. We have gained expertise, willing to go back to give, help. It's no harm. It's going to increase the economy. If you do the blast furnace, you take over your mind from people just coming to exploit. You make your own steel, you make your own product, and you become economically sustainable. And if you try to do sustainable program for the current mining situation so that after they close, your people will still have access to the hospitals, the schools, the buildings, and they just turn their job to a new situation. So that's it. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Jimmy?
Yes, and we're happy you came. Ladies and gentlemen, join us again next week where we'll try to discuss other economic effects in our country and where we can put focus and expertise to improve our situation.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. And Gabriel?
Yeah. Doc, thank you again for having you here. I think every time you come, I'm, amazed of how much knowledge you have in the area. And, I will admit I have no idea, no knowledge of the mining sector. So, as I've talked to you on the show, there's a nuggets. I pick up a lot of learning that we do here, and I'm sure everybody in the audience do too as well. So again, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. Hopefully, people listen to your message. You're able to kind of offer some kind of expertise to the country, because these are people like you we need in the area, especially where there's the ability to extract a lot of revenue and make a lot of revenue for the country. So thank you for being with us, Jimmy. It's a pleasure. Again, as we said, always we'll be here next week, 3 p.m. same time. For now, we don't know what topic we'll be covering, but stay tuned. We'll share that with you sometime during the week. As we like to say, we talk about economics, business, and everything that affects your pocket on this show. So we don't get too much into politics, but even if we get into politics, we'll offend you. At the end of the day, guess what? We're all Liberian. You got no bad bush to throw us in. If you do, we'll still come out from there. So we will leave you with that song that says we're all Liberians. And I hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Ciao.
Ciao.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Unity, all we want. Liberia, oh. Unity, all we want. Liberia,